religion of theosophy and the spiritual movement of anthroposophy, the Akashic records are believed to be a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future regarding not just humans, but all entities and life forms. They are believed by theosophists to be encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the mental plane. Acacia, Aka is the Sanskrit word for ether, sky, or atmosphere, History Theosophical Society. The Sanskrit term Acacia was introduced to the language of theosophy through Helena Blavatsky 1831 to 1891, who characterized it as a sort of life force. She also referred to indestructible tablets of the astral light recording both the past and future of human thought and action. But she did not use the term Akashic. The notion of an Akashic record was further disseminated by Alfred Percy. Sennett in his book Esoteric Buddhism 1883 when he cites Henry Steele Olcott's a Buddhist. Catechism 1881, Olcott wrote that Buddha taught the things are eternal, viz. Akasha and Nirvana. Everything has come out of Akasha in obedience to a law of motion inherent in it and passes away. No thing ever comes out of nothing. By C.W. Leadbeater's Clairvoyance 1899, the association of the term with the idea was complete, and he identified the Akashic records by name as something a clairvoyant could read in his 1913 Man. Whence, how, and whither. Leadbeater claims to record the history of Atlantis and other civilizations as well as the future society of Earth in the 28th century. Alice A. Bailey wrote in her book The Light of the Soul on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Book 3. Union achieved in its results 1927. Full citation needed. The Akashic record is like an immense photographic film, registering all the desires and earth experiences of our planet. Those who perceive it will see pictured thereon the life experiences of every human being since time began, the reactions to experience of the entire animal kingdom, the aggregation of the thought forms of a karmic nature based on desire of every human unit throughout time. Only a trained occultist can distinguish between actual experience and those astral pictures, created by imagination and keen desire. Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian theosophist, and later founder of anthroposophy, Rudolf Steiner used the Akashic records concept mainly in a series of articles in his journal Lucifernosis from 1904 to 1908, where he wrote about Atlantis and Lemuria, topics related to their purported history and civilization. Besides this, he used the term in the title of lectures on a fifth gospel held in 1913 and 1914. Shortly after the foundation of the Anthroposophical Society and Steiner's exclusion from the Theosophical Society Adyar, other Edgar Cayce claimed to be able to access the Akashic records. Musician Prince used references to Akashic records as a storytelling device throughout his album The Rainbow Children, particularly in reference to the history of slavery in the United States. The character Obadiah Archer from the Valiant Comics Universe series Archer and Armstrong is able to access the Akashic plane to mimic all known human and superhuman abilities since the 2012 reboot. Full citation needed. Instinctively you give to me the love that I need. I cherish the moments with you. Young sprouts and yanks, and pull yourselves up off the planks, for I got tailies as tall as corn. 'Bout how this scrappy land was born, in buckskin pants and muddy boots. Our kinfolk sprouted rebel roots, back when King George, high on his throne, declared these woods his very own. He taxed our tea, our ink, our gin, without no say from us within. So Sam and Tom and Johnny too said, "Hang your crown, we're through with you." At Lexington one April dawn, the redcoats came with muskets drawn, but old John Parker stood his ground, and shot was fired round the town, the shot heard cross the globe. They say sent thunder cracking freedom's way, then farmers left their fields and plows to load their guns and make their vows. We fought with grit, not much with gold, just dreams and hearts that wouldn't fold. All George Washington, tall and lean, took charge with calm, commanding mien. He crossed the Delaware in sleep, with frostbite nipping at his feet. They caught the Hessians drunk. In bed, surprise. The Yankee soldiers said at Saratoga, fortune turned, the Brits got whipped. Their plans got burned. France sniffed blood and tipped her hat and sent us ships, imagine that. The years wore on, the winters bit, but patriots refused to quit till Yorktown came, and Cornwallis got boxed in like a bloated tick. They played the world turned upside down, when George rolled in with victor's crown, and though the peace was signed at last, the troubles weren't all in the past. We had no king, no throne, no guard, just states bickering yard to yard. The articles they wouldn't do to loose to hold a rebel crew. So Philly met in '87 to hammer out a plan from heaven. Not James Madison, the smallest gent, spoke bold with words most eloquent. Ben Franklin snored while men took sides. While Hamilton penned federal guides, they drafted up a constitution of bold and balanced revolution, checks and powers, votes and rights, and clauses folks still fuss. About nights, old George got picked to steer the ship of farmer's grace. A general's grip, now hold on tight. We ain't done yet, there's still more ink our fate must set. Jefferson wrote of rights and lands. With calloused ink and calloused hands, he bought the whole darn West for cheap. Napoleon was half asleep, the Louisiana Purchase came, and doubled up the nation's frame, but trouble stirred across the seas. Brit warships bullied us with ease. They'd snatch our sailors off the deck, which left our flag a tattered wreck. Impressment was the highbrow term, but we just called it worse than worm. So young James Madison declared, we'll whoop him back. The whole land flared, the War of 8 and 12 began, with frontier smoke and steamboat plans. Tecumseh rose, with British aid his people fought, but lost and paid. They burned all Washington one night. The White House lit up blazing bright, but Dolly saved George's portrait true. Before that blaze came burning through, at Baltimore the cannons roared, and through the bombs the banner soared. A liar watched from British chains, he scribbled verses through the rains. Francis Scott Key, that was the chap he saw old. Glory through the crap, and wrote a tune we still do sing with. Hats off high and freedom's ring, then Jackson came like thunder rollin'. Down in New Orleans, cannons tollin', he whipped the Brits in muddy straits too late, the treaty sealed. Their fates. Peace was signed in Ghent, they say, but word was slow in Jackson's day still. That battle gave a cheer and launched O.L. Hickory's bright career, so there it was by sword and pen. We carved our place among the men from 13 stripes. 2 spangled stars, we built a land from scratch and scars, a land not perfect. That's for sure, with sins to face and wounds to cure, but through the storms and cannon smoke, the dream survived, though near it broke, so tip your hat to those who bled, who marched through cold and buried dead, for every barn and country lane holds echoes of that star-born pain from 76 to 15's dusk. We went from rough to shining husk, and here we are still dreaming wide, with liberty our stubborn guide, so plant your corn but keep your aim, and never bow to king or name. The roots run deep beneath our boots in rebel soil, and freedom shoots.